This is a story called The Little Monsters Part 5, The Family Holiday. It's the school summer holidays and all the kids are looking forward to going on holiday to Primrose Valley together with their families and each other for a week. For the first couple of days the kids were on their best behaviour. However, on the third day into their holiday they were all on the beach. Everyone was enjoying themselves until some big kids went up to a little girl and smashed the sandcastle she'd made. This caused the little girl to cry. The gang went up and chased them off, and then they helped the little girl to build some more sandcastles. Later that day the gang decided that they were bored. They were supposed to go to the club opposite their caravan park with their families, but none of them wanted to go. As Kicker's caravan was the biggest, all the gang piled into there. Their parents told them that they weren't allowed to leave the caravan. The gang waited until their parents were in the club and out of sight, and then they went outside. Creeper said, "Let's creep up on people and scare them." "Yeah, come on guys, let's do that," said Kicker. From that moment on they hid around corners and jumped out on just about everyone who came past and scared the living daylights out of them. They played this game all night until they spotted their parents coming out of the club. Then they all went back to Kicker's caravan. They were all sat there on the sofa watching TV and looking like butter wouldn't melt. That night they all stayed at Kicker's caravan. The following day they all went to the beach for a bit. In the afternoon the kids were allowed to go off together and do their own thing, so they decided to go to the amusement arcade. Stumpy spotted a cafe next to the arcade and said, "Hey guys, there's the cafe, let's get something to eat." Grumpy said to him, "Trust you to notice the cafe, Stumpy. Come on guys, let's go in, I'm hungry too." They all went for something to eat, and whilst they were in the cafe they couldn't help getting up to mischief. They poured salt and sugar all over their table, and they started running around the cafe, chasing each other. This caused them to bump into people, which they all thought was really funny, especially Bumpy. A member of staff managed to grab Stumpy, but Kicker kicked him, saying, "Get off my friend." The man screamed in pain, causing him to let go of Stumpy, who then stamped hard on his foot, causing him to cry out in pain again. Of course, the kids thought this was hilarious, especially when the owner chased them out of the cafe yelling, "Get out of my cafe and don't come back." The following day the kids went back to the arcade, and again they were hungry. They checked that the man who cooked for them the day before wasn't there, and then they went in. However, when they started doing the same as they did the day before, another member of staff grabbed Grumpy. Kicker went up and kicked him hard, and Stumpy stamped really hard on his foot, causing him to yell out in pain. Another member of staff told them to leave, but they didn't, so he chased them out. The kids went into the arcade, and at first they were on their best behaviour. However, they knew they were all being watched closely by the man in the change booth. As soon as the man was distracted by people wanting change, the kids started going wild. They went round all the 2p and 10p machines and rocked them so that the money would fall out, and then they put it all in their pockets. What they didn't realise was that they had been seen by a member of staff. They tried to make a run for it, but the member of staff grabbed Creeper. She struggled, but the man wouldn't let her go, so she shouted, "Kicker!" Kicker came over and kicked the man really hard on his shin, causing him to cry out in pain. Despite this, he still wouldn't let go of Creeper, so Kicker kicked him hard in his goolies, causing him to howl in pain and fall to his knees with his eyes rolling. Creeper got free and they all ran away laughing hysterically. The next day the kids found a bigger arcade and they went in and went round the machines, knocking them, making the money fall out like they did in the other arcade. This time when a member of staff came near them, they just put the money in their pockets and walked out of the arcade. The next day they went back to the arcade, hoping to strike it lucky again, and they did. What they didn't realise was that their parents were watching them. When Grumpy's mum came in, followed by Kicker's mum, she said, "What are you kids up to?" Grumpy said, "Nothing, Mum. We're just trying to win money and prizes from the machines." She gave him some more money and then he left. However, all the parents knew exactly what their kids were up to, and they were watching them from a safe distance so they wouldn't know they were being watched. 4 days into their holiday, the kids had all been up to so much mischief, and they weren't done yet. The 4th day they went to the beach, and every time anyone close by went in the sea for a swim or a paddle, the kids took their towels and threw them in the sea. None of the parents saw this as they weren't there. The kids thought this was hilarious. However, someone who knew Grumpy's parents told them what him and the rest of the gang were up to on the beach. As soon as all the parents found out what their kids had been up to, they went to find them, but the kids were nowhere to be seen. Their parents waited for them to come home. When they did, their parents were all in Kicker's caravan, and they told them to change their clothes because they were all going to the club. When they got there, the kids were all told not to leave their seats. However, as the night wore on, the kids eventually managed to escape. They went in the toilets and got toilet roll and wet it under the tap. They then threw it at the ceiling, and as a woman came to wash her hands, some of it fell on her head. Of course, the kids thought this was hilarious. They then got wet toilet roll and threw it at the back of people's heads, which they also thought was hilarious. The next day the kids' parents confronted them. Of course the kids denied everything, but their parents were having none of it. The kids were all told to stay in Kicker's caravan and not to leave. They were told that if they left the caravan they'd be in even more trouble than they were already in. The kids knew that they had no choice but to stay put because their parents were close by and they would see them if they left. They all came up with a secret plan to get up to mischief again. That night when they all went back to their caravans, they were told to go to bed, and they did. When their parents thought they were all fast asleep, they all climbed out of one of the caravan windows and met up. They went round all the caravans, knocking on the doors and windows and waking people up and running away and hiding. After about half an hour, the kids decided to go back to their caravans, thinking that their parents had no idea that they'd been out. However, the next morning on the 6th day of their holiday, their parents sat them all down together in Kicker's caravan. They were told by their parents that they knew about everything they'd been up to. All the kids were smacked hard on their bums, and they were told that they had to stay in their caravans for the rest of the holiday. They were told that if they even tried to leave the caravan, they'd be smacked again, but harder than before. They were also told that they were grounded for a month. The next day they all went home, and the kids had no choice but to stay in for a whole month, because there was always a parent with them. Of course, when they were allowed out again, they got up to more mischief. End of part 5. Thank you.